If you're one of the potentially hundreds of thousands of Australians that access Netflix in the US, you bypass Australia Netflix and you go straight to US Netflix using a virtual private network, which is a bit of technology that basically tells the internet that you're in another part of the globe. Well, you might be in danger because very soon Netflix have said that they might block access to VPNs. But how are they doing it? And more importantly, why are they doing it? That is why we have our panel here, Olivia Rosenman from Storyful and Claire Riley from the technology website CNET. Why?
Netflix announced at the start of the year that they are launching in 130 new countries. So where they previously haven't had a presence, Australia has had Netflix since about March 2015. All of these countries were either not getting Netflix, were getting their own local streaming services, or were accessing Netflix, the US catalogue, via a VPN. Now Netflix is launching in all those countries, so suddenly, where they were able to say before, look, it's in our terms of service that you can't access the US catalogue via a VPN, but maybe we'll just turn a blind eye to it because maybe we're getting a bit of money from you guys and we wouldn't otherwise get it. Now they've got a legitimate service opening up in all these new countries, so it's a reason for them to say, stop doing the kind of workaround, come through the legitimate service. And I really think it's because rights holders would have been putting the thumb down on them for so long, saying we tie up all these different global deals. People are bypassing those deals and getting the straight US, uncut, pure to your veins version of Netflix. And the rights holders hold a lot of sway in these situations. So they would have said, shut it down. And finally now Netflix has a reason to shut it down because they've got a legitimate revenue stream in so many new places.
Olivia, is there a sort of a long-term strategy from Netflix to remove those regional barriers anyway, so that the sort of things you can access in all of those countries eventually would just be the same and we wouldn't need these kinds of technologies?
Absolutely. And certainly there are people out there saying that they've done this to force the issue because it's very inconvenient for them. But there is the argument that if they were really serious about doing this, why wouldn't they do what iTunes does, which is require a credit card with a billing address in that country, which is a much more effective way. I think it probably would be fair to say that they are the globally dominant live streaming
Yeah, so
company.
they're in 190 countries, and the main one that they don't have is China, but they've sort of said, don't rule it out, we will get into China one day.
Good luck with that one. But, you know, they are globally dominant, and people do say that they're actually just waiting for the current licenses, a lot of them to tick over, and then they'll come in with their big sway and say, look, we're going to do it. We're changing the field. We're doing it our way.
Netflix has already done things like their original series, Orange is the New Black, House of Cards.
Making a Murderer.
Making a Murderer, yeah. They have already been doing sort of day and date global releases. You get the whole series and you get it now. What rights holders want is they want to, essentially the phrase is clip the ticket. They want to clip the ticket in as many regions as possible. So they have a distribution deal for, I don't know, Parks and Rec has a certain distribution deal in the States, but we get it through a different service in Australia. And if you're in South Africa, you might get it through a different service to the UK.
Yeah, they get a little bit of money from everybody around the world.
And they like that money because the thing we've learned about rights holders is they sure do love money, and then they use it to lobby and all that sort of stuff.
Region windowing is surely soon to be extinct. You can't sustain region windowing.
It's got to be the most boring but most anger-inducing topic of all time, because it's like, why do we have to get a digital product months later? I've still not seen the last season of Parks and Rec because I'm download vegan, so I only get things through legitimate means. I've not
download vegan may well be my favourite thing that's ever been said on this show.
But yeah, the rights holders want as much money as possible. So Netflix is saying we want day and date, we want massive launches. Rights holders don't want that. They've hitherto been able to say, well, look, okay, we'll just negotiate deals. But once they're in 190 countries, I feel like suddenly the sway is going to go back towards Netflix. Like, do you want us to take the series or not? Because we'll have it day and date, or we'll not take it at all, and you won't be in those regions.
190 countries, but as you mentioned, Olivia, not China.
And I lived there for 6 years. You know, Facebook tried and failed. Rupert Murdoch tried and failed. Like, these big companies, Google is almost out of China now. I mean, these huge big companies, you'd think if anyone's going to do it, it's them. But
in kind of crib noting it, what's so unique about the Chinese landscape that makes it so difficult for these companies?
Hugely important is that China wants to maintain the control to be able to censor it really heavily, and a lot of the companies aren't prepared to submit to the kind of surveillance that they would want to impose.
And a lot of those companies have this sort of very American notion of sort of openness and free speech really baked into the ideology, like talking about things like Google and Facebook in particular. That's so much the core of the DNA of those companies.
Absolutely. But then the second thing is that the Chinese government is, I think, You could argue legitimately trying to protect local Chinese companies doing the same sort of thing. So, that with Facebook, well, you've got Weibo sort of filling a very similar space, and they're actually trying to protect their locally produced versions of these kind of services.
All right, if you are a VPN user right now who uses this to access Netflix in the US, will you stop? Will this be your turning point where you actually turn over to using the local version? Let us know down below. Thanks, guys.